ഐ.ടി. മേഖലയിൽ മലബാറിന്റെ വിശാലമായ സാധ്യതകൾക്ക് വഴിതെളിച്ച് കേരള ടെക്നോളജി എക്സ്പോ കോഴിക്കോട് അരങ്ങേറി. സരോവരത്തെ കാലിക്കറ്റ് ട്രേഡ് സെന്ററിൽ ഫെബ്രുവരി 29 മുതൽ മാർച്ച് 2 വരെയാണ് പ്രദർശനം നടന്നത്. അന്താരാഷ്ട്ര തലത്തിൽ ശ്രദ്ധേയമായ ടെക്നോളജി പ്രദർശനങ്ങളും വർക്ക്ഷോപ്പുകളും സ്റ്റാളുകളുമടക്കം നിരവധി വിഭവങ്ങളാണ് എക്സ്പോയിൽ ഉണ്ടായത്. രാജ്യത്തെ മുൻനിര ഐ.ടി. കേന്ദ്രമായി കോഴിക്കോടിനെ ഉയർത്തിക്കൊണ്ടുവരിക എന്നതാണ് എക്സ്പോ കൊണ്ട് പ്രധാനമായും ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചത്. ആഗോള ബിസിനസ് ഭൂപടത്തിൽ ജില്ലയ്ക്ക് തന്ത്രപ്രധാനമായ സ്ഥാനം ഉറപ്പിക്കാൻ കൂടി ഈ പ്രദർശനം സഹായമായി. പ്രമുഖ വ്യവസായ, അക്കാദമിക്, ഗവൺമെന്റ് സ്ഥാപനങ്ങൾ ഒന്നിച്ച് രൂപീകരിച്ച കാലിക്കറ്റ് ഇന്നൊവേഷൻ ആൻഡ് ടെക്നോളജി ഇനീഷ്യേറ്റീവ് (CITI) സൊസൈറ്റിയുടെ നേതൃത്വത്തിലാണ് ടെക്നോളജി എക്സ്പോ നടന്നത്.
With a nice round of applause, come on everyone, let us start our third day, the grand finale of this amazing event. What an amazing 2 days it's been, right? It has been yesterday and today promises to be nothing short of extraordinary. So without much ado,
there is no harm in initially setting up like a virtual address in a city where you can still say that, okay, I am a Bangalore startup, raise money, come back and set up this part of it, because that will also help you in terms of changing that perception some of these investors have. Again, I work a lot with Kerala Startup Mission, with some of the other community members to bring in a lot more ecosystem here in Kerala, but we also need to be really understand the realities. It takes some time. So if we have more companies who can evangelize, who was able to raise fund, set up back in Kerala, then automatically this will come. So be smart about.
So somebody asked me the question over lunch, hey, with this AI coming in, will designers lose their job? I said, no, I'm excited for it because we are going to have better jobs, or no, more complex things to work on, because the technology is going to help us to do some of the mundane work. Right?
Even now, there are many decisions, whether they are ethical choices, practical choices, or legal choices, that we need to make as humans, and that should not be delegated to AI. And if we are not careful, it's easy for them to get buried under this complexity and cognitive overload. The third consideration is what I would call human stupidity. So if you watch science fiction movies, Hollywood would like us to believe that the biggest threat from machine intelligence is that AI would take over humanity, they would outsmart us, and then they would kill us all. But there is a much more urgent and realistic threat, and that is that AI will actually obey us without question. It will do exactly as we tell it to do. So what are we going to tell it to do? We need to remember that at the heart of it, AI is just a tool, like a knife or a hammer, and we can do with it what we want to do with it. Now, humans use fire to cook their food, but they also use fire to burn down entire villages. So it is very important that we understand not only artificial intelligence, but we need to understand our human flaws and our biases and really take into consideration ethical and responsible AI. So what lies ahead for us? No one knows for sure. But here are three potential scenarios. Scenario one is AI as a collaborative tool. So we will work with AI hand in hand. AI will help us in tasks that we don't know how to do, and it will be a collaborator with us, augmenting our capabilities, increasing our productivity. Scenario two is democratization of creativity. So there are so many people with many creative ideas, but not all of us will have the skills to actually make that into a final product. So what AI can do is actually give the skills that is needed for all of us to have a creative expression. And creativity can actually become much more mainstream than it is now. Now the third scenario, hopefully doesn't happen, but this can happen in a world where AI mimics the human artists and their styles, and in a world without real good regulatory frameworks. And we could end up in a world of discontent and displacement, where there are questions about authorship. There is an oversaturation of AI-generated content, and eventually maybe even displacement of human artists. So which of this is more likely to happen? There is not much to be gained in trying to predict the future. The better question to ask is, what can we do to shape this? So as a technologist, I ask myself, how can we move away from scenario 3 towards scenario 1 and 2? And whether AI will replace us or whether it will augment us will depend on the choices and approaches that we make and the strategies that we choose to follow at this point in time. So now let's talk about some of the strategies to thrive in the era of creative tech. And let me clarify something first. When we say creative tech, we mean this emerging field where traditional creative
capital disruptions. What I mean by that is, if you look at starting from microprocessors, starting from how the computers are invented, internet and so on and so forth, each one of these technology discontinuity, when it happens, it creates a lot of disruption for the human capital. The way we live and work changes because of technology discontinuity, right? So AI, and especially generative AI, is going to cause a lot more of that. And that's important for us to understand and get a sense of what those disruptions are going to be. And that's why, even though in the past few decades we have seen the rise of internet, the proliferation of mobile, clearly the advent of cloud computing, all of that, even though they had a significant impact on the human capital, what we are about to witness because of artificial intelligence is going to be very, very significant compared to all of those discontinuity we made, right? And just to make sure that we understand, AI is not a new word. AI has been around for 70 years, right? 1955, the first time the word artificial intelligence was used was 1955. But why is it suddenly it's gotten into fashion now? Because since then, there were a lot of jagged development of artificial intelligence, which means there will be a period of quiet, nothing happens on AI, and suddenly there will be a jump in terms of what happens. So there's always a jagged movement of development. If you trace the last few years, that's what's actually happening in the field of artificial intelligence. And the excitement we see for the last about 12 to 18 months is primarily because of the generative AI and the advancement that we've been able to achieve in the field of generative AI.
അങ്ങനെയാണ് എന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഭാവിയിൽ എത്ര ആൾക്കാർ വേണ്ടി വരും അത്തരം ഓർഗനൈസേഷൻസിൽ എന്നുള്ള ഒരു ചോദ്യമുണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഇതിന്റെ ഒരു ഡാർക്ക് ഏരിയയെ കുറിച്ച് പറയുകയാണെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിലും നിങ്ങൾ സൈലന്റ് ആയപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവുന്നുണ്ട്, അതായത് ആലോചിച്ചിട്ട് അങ്ങ് അന്തം വിട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവുന്നില്ല. പക്ഷെ നമുക്ക് ഇന്നത്തെ ഇവിടെ ചർച്ച ഇതിന്റെ പോസിറ്റീവ് സൈഡിനെ കുറിച്ചാണ്. നമുക്ക് ഒരുപാട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. ജോബ് ലോസ് എന്നുള്ളത് ഞാൻ അതിനെപ്പോഴും കാണാറുള്ള ഒരു പോയിന്റ് എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, നമ്മൾ ഹ്യൂമൻസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ജോബ്സിനെ റീപ്ലേസ് ചെയ്താൽ അത് നമുക്ക് നൽകിയിരുന്ന എക്കണോമിക് ഏജൻസി നമുക്ക് എങ്ങനെ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നുള്ളതാണ്. കാരണം മാർക്കറ്റിൽ നമ്മൾ ഡിമാൻഡ് ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു പോയിന്റ് നമ്മുടെ ഇൻകത്തിൽ നിന്നാണ്. അപ്പൊ ആ ഇൻകം കട്ടായി കഴിഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് മാറ്റി നിർത്തിയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ജീവിതവും സാധ്യമല്ല. അപ്പൊ അതിനോട് എങ്ങനെ നമുക്ക് ഒരേ ഒരു ഓപ്ഷൻ ഉള്ള, അതായത് ഒന്നുകിൽ നമുക്ക് ഇതിൽ എക്സ്പ്ലോയിറ്റഡ് ആവുക, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇതിന്റെ ചൂഷണത്തിന് വിധേയമാകുക. നമ്മളിങ്ങനെ ഒരു ആയിട്ടുള്ള ടൈംസിലാണ്. പക്ഷെ ഡിഫറൻസ് എന്താന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ, ഒരു ദിവസം പോലും നമുക്ക് അപ്ഡേറ്റഡ് ആവാതെ ഇരിക്കാൻ നമുക്ക് പറ്റില്ല. അവിടെ നമുക്ക് എന്താ പറയാ, ഈ ഡിസ്ട്രാക്ഷൻ ഭയങ്കര പ്രശ്നമാണ്. അതായത് ടൂ മച്ച് എന്റർടൈൻമെന്റ് കിട്ടാനുണ്ട്.
ഞാൻ കേരളക്കാരൻ, ഇൻ ദ സെൻസ് ദാറ്റ് ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ പഠിച്ച് കാലിക്കറ്റിൽ പഠിച്ച് എനിക്ക് വേണം അറിയൂ, കുറച്ച് അറിയൂ, എഴുതാൻ അറിയൂ, വായിക്കാൻ അറിയൂ, പക്ഷേ ഇപ്പോഴെല്ലാം മറന്നുപോയി. And I wanted all the institutions, as Professor Krishna has mentioned just now, that it has to be more industry oriented, not simply teaching A plus B whole square and A plus B whole cube, A plus B MCA, that type of things have gone. And I'm glad that I see that digital university also coming up in Kerala. In that university, that's where, brick and mortar is no longer valid in terms of that. That's where the satellites play a dominant role in the country in terms of bandwidth supply and making things happen in their homes itself on that. So as Professor Krishna has mentioned, it is necessary that there must be horizontal movement of the faculty from industry from the institution to the industry to the institutions. It's absolutely necessary on that. Then the learning how will be much more. Now we are talking about the digital divide between the universities and the industry, etc. I think that it can be easily be built by changing the mindset of the faculty itself on that. So therefore, that's the reason why we want to establish one space laboratory here. The space is just not one electronics or one mechanical. It's a combination of all the faculties in that. That's the reason we're establishing the space laboratory in NIT itself, so that they can come up with a lot of ideas. And we're talking about a lot of startups and things like that. But the point is, the student, when he was in the college itself, must start experimenting with the space-related activities. And the space is all pervasive in the sense that it can be used for urban development, it can be used for the education, it can be used, very many things on that. So therefore, electronics, mechanical, physics, chemistry, every faculty, humanities, everything can be made part of that. So NIT has fully everything that, in full it has all the faculties, and the students and the faculty together can work, do enormous work on that. With that objective, we are starting it. Hopefully things will go very well on that. All your blessings. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.